Let's turn to this now. ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji has raised concerns about the party's coalition partners in some of the country's big metros. He told the Sunday Times that it's immoral for the ANC to work with a party led by ex-convicts like the Patriotic Alliance's Kunene and Gayton Mckenzie. Malatji joins us now for more on those views and others. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time and coming on to In Focus. First and foremost, is that a correct representation of what you were saying? Please unmute for us if you can.
Yes, it was the correct representation of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was not misquoted.
And on what basis do you say that the ANC cannot go into coalition with the Patriotic Alliance? Is just purely based on a moral compass? One would argue and say, well, there are many people with questionable morals, even within the ANC, who are part of the organization, but you have no problem with them being a part of the organization. Why would you particularly point out the two gentlemen who are convicts in the Patriotic Alliance?
Look, it was just an example, the PA. Generally, the ANC must work with anyone that has got high moral value in society, highly respected, because the ANC is the parliament of the people, and it must lead society to a direction that the direction of hope. And we can associate ourselves with anyone or any organization that lacks integrity, or it's got a history of people who are known for, you know, as far as even post the correctional issue, even if you can say you've forgiven them because of the correctional service issue, but they are the same people who, even when they came back, they continue to exploit women, eat sushis on top of women's bodies and all of those things. Now, the ANC can associate themselves with that, and also the ANC cannot be desperate to govern at all costs. The ANC must govern at the will of the people. If the people of South Africa are saying that we're not giving you majority to govern, come and gain back our trust, the ANC must be focusing on that.
So are you saying it is desperation that's driving the ANC in the city of Johannesburg, in Ekurhuleni, and I think it's in one of the Kagiso areas as well, where they are in coalitions, and elsewhere where they are trying to make coalitions? Is that they're just desperate to be in power? Why are they making those arrangements?
Look, I think we'll provide guidance to that. I think that the best method that can be used is that where the ANC's majority, it must govern. Whoever wants to work with the ANC to govern, they must assist them. It can't work. The system of sharing of power with different parties will not work because no one takes responsibility for service delivery. Can give you a practical example. You find that in an area, some parties are in charge of health, others are in charge of infrastructure. When you have an imbizo, it becomes a blame game. Now, what you call a mayoral committee, it's a committee of a mayor. The mayor must be able to serve with people that believe in his programs and values. It can't be serving with people that don't believe in the principles of what you want to see happen. The ANC must implement its manifesto in its totality where they have mayors and governing. And failure to do that, the ANC must go back to the ground, mobilize support and gain majority support to come back to power to a majority party. Because how will we implement our manifesto with parties that fully, publicly reject what we believe in? Yeah. Now, where the ANC is majority, it must be supported to govern, or it must sit opposition branches and fight to gain the support of our people.
What would say it's not entirely up to the ANC for that to happen? And so what happens when, like it has happened in the local government elections, the electorate says, no, we're not going to give you a majority. In fact, we're not going to give any party a majority. How then are governments going to be formed?
Look, the ANC as an organization must refuse to want to lead via back doors. If, for example, in Ekurhuleni, why majority, any other party that wants us to govern, to see the government move forward, they must vote for an ANC mayoral committee. In areas where other parties are in charge, they are given majority, we must support them to have their own mayoral committee. That's how we must protect this system of service delivery. Look, it's clear that where there's core governing and many parties involved, service delivery is highly affected. You know, You look at in Ekurhuleni, the waste management issues has collapsed. It's a crisis. I'm sure if you go to Johannesburg, it's becoming potholes have turned into swimming pools because there's no high level of accountability. The mayor doesn't have authority over his own mayoral committee because his mayoral committee is not deployed by him. Now, those are things that don't work. Now, if no one is ready to govern like that, then we must go back to elections and the people must give majority to those who must govern.
Yeah, we had the Premier of Gauteng the other day here in the studio with us, and he says on ideology, maybe even on the posture around particular principles, the ANC is closer to the economic freedom fighters on certain issues, and that's why they would lean more towards a coalition with the EFF. What's the view of the ANC Youth League on that?
Look, the EFF speaks a lot of policies that the ANC speaks around. But the problem about the EFF, I don't like talking much about it, but it's inconsistencies, you know. The EFF will indicate right and go left, will indicate left and go right. You can't govern like that. You need to govern with people who've got principles, who people stick to what they say they believe in. Again, you know, I can make an example of the land issue. The EFF for the longest time, they've been saying that when they were formed, they are aligning themselves with the Freedom Charter, that the land shall belong to the people. When the ANC came to Parliament and said, let's take the land and take it to the people, the EFF changed the principle and the ball game and says now the land must move to the state. Now, you need a stable government. You don't need people who will not show stability in what they believe in and implement. Now, that's why the best thing the ANC must do now, we are preparing to regain the support of our people. We must work very hard to make sure that whatever mistakes we've made, we've corrected them. The biggest issue is service delivery. We need to go and address it. People of South Africa have seen that the ANC, other parties that claim that they can do better than the ANC, they've done worse. You know, you can go to Tshwane. The stats are clear now where Tshwane Metro is indicated as one of the worst performing municipalities in South Africa. Now, those are the simple political parties that have said they can govern better than the ANC. Now, I'm saying that with us self-correcting, with the experience we have of being in government, I think we'll do better now. Our people of South Africa must give the ANC a chance to correct whatever mistake that they've done.
Yeah. So what if, for example, on the labor migration policy, others are saying the comments that you made to the Sunday Times seem to indicate that the ANC is not far off from the Patriotic Alliance, for example, on how the question of ownership of spaza shops should be handled. So why wouldn't you be in agreement with that particular party?
Look, one of the policies that we need to agree on is that the bylaws must be enforced in townships. People must have permits to operate tech shops, and South Africans must operate that. It's always been the business, the economy that have been operating. It doesn't need special skills to run. It just needs training and needs a spaza shop to be well operated. That's all. Now, that is a space that can be protected for the youth of South Africans to run. And I'm saying that it doesn't, look, every message depends on the integrity of the messenger. Now, we can say the same message, but if you lack integrity as a person, doesn't mean that people will listen to that. You can say all of these things, but you don't mean it. But the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance, I'm saying, for example, it has been led by people who have been known to be opulent in public, who have been showing lack of morals on how to deal with certain societal issues. Now, when it's said by the ANC, it's a moral issue. If they support us, then what? But we need to implement that. We need to make sure that those issues are addressed as a way of protecting that economy for South Africans.
So on what legal basis would you then set aside tax shop permits to be purely given to the youth of South Africa?
Look, it's a lobby that we need a clear policy decision on the matter. We've started the debate. The debate must be taken to the spheres of the state, must be taken to Parliament, to be put into law. So that it's implemented. Now, we've started the lobby of the ANC Youth League as a body of opinion in the ANC. We've started internally and externally. And we know that society has been making that call for years. And that will be a good response. Part of our program of trying to regain the confidence of our people is to listen to them on their demands.
Why do you think that will be successful? I mean, when, for example, Thulas Nxesi has been talking about managing the rapid expansion of international migrants coming into the trucking sector. But again, he says there's nothing that you can do about people who are properly documented, who have working visas. They've got to be allowed to work in that space. So potentially meaning that migrants have got rights as well. So how are you going to get around that particular issue with your proposal?
Look, the lobby is that we need a clear law in place. Certain businesses must be set aside for only South Africans, to operate in those areas. Look, South Africans have been trying to compete in the tech shop sector. And, we need to clear also, we need inspectors to come into assist that sector, because we've seen a lot of shops that have been exposed, that people have been sold expired food and all of those things. Now, we need law enforcement agencies to implement all of those issues. Now, those are areas that we think that we can easily excel on. Those are low-hanging fruits to address part of the high level of unemployment that we are faced with. We need to bring back South Africans in their own economic activities of their own country.
And that particular lobby, why do you see it being successful? What strength do you have to be able to shift the party in that kind of way?
Look, the Youth League is a body of opinion in the ANC. It influences the policy directions of the African National Congress. Now, we've been successful in many policy positions we've taken. Now, even on this one, won't fade, because we're the ear and the eyes of the ANC in society. And the ANC will listen to us, because we'll be telling them that is part of the issues. How people are saying they don't vote for the ANC because the ANC don't protect their interests in their own townships and everywhere else. Now, they'll listen to us, and I'm sure very well that those are part of the issues that we're looking very hard, that even our manifesto covers them.
Yeah. Let's touch on the other issue. You mean we are going to national elections, and there are those who are expecting the ANC to lose majority in the upcoming elections. You think all those senior ministers there, you were in parliament yourself at some point, are going to surrender and say, no, it's fine, we'll go and sit in the opposition desks? I'm sure they're going to look at you and think, these young people, clearly they are not well in the head.
Look, the ANC fought for this democracy and is ready to protect it. And I think the ANC will be the first ones to say, when the majority of South Africans don't feel that the ANC is a party that represents their interests and they don't vote for it, the ANC will be first to accept those outcomes. That's how much they never fought for this democracy for themselves. They fought for this democracy for the people of South Africa to participate fully in and make decisions on who they want them to cover. And I can tell you now that in many municipalities, the ANC has not go. Unlike in other countries, we find that liberation movements are refusing to leave office. The ANC has not done that anywhere. Look at the Western Cape, for example, and look at the city of Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Metro. We've pushed back. When we push back by the people of South Africa, we listen and say, we will come to you to regain your confidence, and you will tell us, as the people of South Africa, where must you self-correct. And I can tell you now, in the last elections, a lot of people did not go and vote for any other political party. They were still hoping that the ANC will come and self-correct and regain their confidence. And that's what we're doing now. We've been full-time on that work. That's why all our structures intact now. The ANC Women's League is from its conference. The Youth League is from its conference. The ANC is working very hard on meeting stakeholders. We're engaging everyone, because our posture is going to be informed by what the people of South Africa want.
Collen, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Collen Malatji, the ANC Youth League president, there on their stance on coalitions, but also on their stance on the labour migration policy and business opportunities being reserved for South African youth in our townships.